There we go. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for making time for our 2025 online reading here for the Garden Party Collective. Loved all of the writers we had for our chapbook contest, and we have 10 fantastic writers that we'll be sharing for today. And we'll have the whole collective kind of doing introductions throughout the reading. So let me just kick things off and we'll get going. So born in Korea and raised in East Africa, Melanie Hyo-In Han recently moved from the US to the UK. She's the author of Passing Notes in Secret, ABC-Dary-un, Banff, Canada, My Dear Yeast, and Sandpaper Tongue, Parchment Lips. Learn more about her at melaniehan.com. Please join me in welcoming Melanie.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris, and to the rest of the Garden Party Collective team for organizing this and for putting this together. I'm going to read a couple of poems from my newest chapbook, Passing Notes in Secret. And I've been thinking a lot about the concept of language and identity and colonization as well as forced migration. So these are a couple of themes that are going to come up. And this first poem, Passing Notes, is about the preservation of the Korean language during Japanese occupation, which was between 1910 and 1945. Passing Notes. Passing notes in secret. 오늘은 내가. Today I got in trouble. 다시. I didn't want my words shredded and force-fed to me, so I 꿀꺽 swallowed them whole instead. Let them germinate in my gut and grow up through my esophagus and into my mouth. Can't let them see the roots tangled under my tongue, the vines between my gums, the flower hanging from my uvula, swaying back and forth. I split my mouth open like ripe fruit, spilling the words they wanted to hear from me, 다시, so they wouldn't see the seeds I had hidden in the notes I passed to you in secret. This second poem takes us forward in time by just a little bit to when Korea won its independence and started rebuilding the country as well as rebuilding the language. And this one is called Learning the Kanadas. The Kanadas is basically the Korean equivalent of the ABCs. And this poem is written in the form of an ABC-Dary-un with each character of the Korean alphabet representing a different concept or a word. Learning the Kanadas. 기억 is for 기억, which means memory. 니은 is for 나라, the word for country. 디귿 is for 다, which means all. 리을 is for 룡, the dragon who protects. 미음 is for 마음, our heart and our soul. 비읍 is for 바람, wants and desires. 시옷 is for 삶, which means life. 이응 is for 융합, or harmony or fusion. 지읒 is for 조선, our pre-divided country. 치읒 is for 참, the ultimate truth. 키읔 is for 칼, a knife that cuts and divides. 티귿 is for 틈, an opportunity or rift. 피읍 is for 피, meaning the blood in our veins. And 히읗 is for 한국, our name for our country of Korea. This next poem takes us forward in time a little bit more, and it's a lot closer to my heart. This one is called My Dear Yeast, and it is the titular poem for my first full-length collection of poetry. And it's in the form of an epistolary, so it's in 3 parts between a grandmother and the speaker, who is me, essentially. My Dear Yeast. Part 1. She says to me, everyone need to learn, it too hard, I too old. I try communicate with granddaughter, doesn't learn language of mother because she already speak English, universal language. My dear yeast, it is prized catch, mother hen, ignorance special bond. I grab the hem of mother, watching while trembling. Show me your fertilized love giggles. Love, 할머니. Part 2. I came home from school one day and you were gone. Mom said it was because you missed Grandpa and you missed Korea, and you didn't wait for me because you were bad at saying goodbyes. But I knew better. You left because you were fed up with me, fed up with trying to teach Korean to a granddaughter who kept refusing. So you went back to your homeland, a land I didn't feel was my home, with nothing but 6,381 miles on the plane between us. My dear Yeast, you know I grow up in Korea while Japan forbid speak our language. As child, force learn Japanese language of oppress, change my name to other country. Yoshiko, they call me. Many were gone when released from Japan. Japan burned thousand book, forced study Japan, forbid our language, prison for people who wrote our words. Release from Japan, regain our language, miracle. I, proud of my people, my movement, regain history, country, culture. East grow up in foreign country, no use our language. What do you know about war for our country? Last wish for East, learn language. Love, 할머니. Part 3. 사랑하는 효인아, 요즘도 잘 지내고 있지? 할머니는 매일 밤 달을 보며 효인이를 생각해. 엄마 아빠 말 잘 듣고 열심히 공부하고 친구들과 재밌게 지내. 한국말도 잊어버리지 말고 계속 연습하도록 해. 할머니는 우리 효인이를 다시 만날 수 있을 때까지 효인이를 위해 기도하고 있을게. 효인이를 많이 많이 사랑하는 김방자 할머니가. My grandmother left. I grew up with my grandmother, but she left to go back to Korea when I was in my teens. And about a decade and a half after that, I decided to move back to Korea for a short amount of time so that I could try to have a better understanding of my passport culture and my family. So this next poem, Invisible, is just a short little one about that process. Invisible. The airplane door closes and my whole world is gone, but there's no funeral, no space to grieve the place that once was patterns and security that can't bring with me. 2 suitcases, neither of which can fit my history, wishes and wants and regrets that won't come again, tucked away and hidden. I don't want to count my losses. And this final poem here is called If Each Move Made Me. And it's a poem about how I feel in terms of moving, as well as the continuation of themes of language and culture and identity. If each move made me strong, like the ironclad pine trees atop mountains, standing firm despite frosty winters, then perhaps I could put my trust in the winds to sculpt my resilience. If each move made me a song, maybe I would be stitched from refrains of lullabies hummed across continents, from syllables softened by distance, from the hush between languages. If each move made me rage, let it burn clean like a fire in my throat when I am told who I can or cannot be. I would let my fury be fluent in every silence that I break just by speaking. If each move made me caged, could I learn to make music out of the spaces between the bars that entrapped me? Could I stretch my voice and reach you so you could see me for me? If each move made me grow, I would know that I was never meant to cling to one patch of earth. I would fling each seed of memory wherever I went, taking root in the cracks of unfamiliar soil. If each move made me journey, then I am still going, not towards a finish, but through to a becoming. I carry silence and song, I carry it all, not to arrive, but to continue. If each move made me pained and looked like silence or the tightness in my chest when someone asks me where I belong, maybe I would say there is no one answer, but rather a scatter of words that trail and linger. And finally, if each move made me gain, then let it be this, a voice that holds multitudes without needing to choose. Let it be knowing that even in absence, something takes root, something blooms. Thank you so much.
All right. I think everyone can hear me. First off, that was
You're good,
amazing.
Kenny.
Yeah, I love that. I think I could be wrong, but I think Melanie, you said the phrase like fertilize love giggles or something like that. That's incredible. That's so cool. Thank you so much for reading for us. All right, I'm going to introduce our next poet. I'm really excited to introduce this poet. I was able to work a bit alongside them with their own chapbook from now with Garden Party Collective, Suburban Suicides. Such a beautiful, beautiful collection. So strong, very powerful and tender, very loving and nostalgic book. Such amazing writing that I got to both work alongside with but learn from. So I'm really excited to call up Era to read, but I'm going to read the actual bio over here. So Era is a queer, chronically in pain Indian American poet from Arizona, a four-time Pushcart nominee. They're the proud author of three chapbooks. They're the editor-in-chief of Ink and Ivy Lit and Bus Talk, and you can find more on their website. So yeah, I'm super excited to bring Era up to the stage.
Thank you so much for those kind words, Kenny, and thank you to the Garden Party Collective overall for, both taking a chance on my chapbook and also, really, really liking it, as well as creating a space like this for poets, like, I guess, across genres as well to, really have a platform and really, like, speak up about their own work as well. So I'm gonna read through, I have, let's see, I have, yeah, three pieces. No, I have four pieces. I'm gonna read through two that are from my chapbook, and then from Suburban Suicides, and then I'm gonna read two that are not from Suburban Suicides. This first one is titled Aftermath. It's after, I guess not after, but it's for my best friend Campbell Brown. The night before it all went to hell, we stayed up, drawing maps of the last trip we'd been able to take over the summer. In the morning, your stylish shade Bezos lipstick stayed sticky on my cheek, a final call to better times we both knew we barely survived. In the afternoon, we read each other our eulogies, kissed the nuclear reactor we called dreams with teeth, and told our families we were survived by each other. The day it all went to hell, we ran amuck, peeled tangerines with the precision of a lamb going to slaughter, picked fibrous remains from under our fingertips. You were always good at being alive. The politics of this are simple. You're a teenage revolutionary, and I'm just holding on, trying to survive. You loan out your identity like billionaires spend cash, give yourself 1,000 times to topple the regime, find each separate way to become other. In the aftermath of it all, I'm trying to hold on to brownness, to survival, to the depth of culture I no longer know how to live in. The day it all went to hell, we ran through the city, headless and happy, relived the last 17 years of our lives, and begged for another set. In the aftermath of it all, I'm still ready, waiting. I'm still here, trying too hard to become comfortable in the skin of a body I no longer know. These days, the nuclear reactor we call our dreams for the future looks different. You want better. I just want to be worth this body. Um, the second piece I'm going to read is a poem titled Essays on Anger. First, the thing was, I was not allowed to be angry. In the south of Arizona, I rotted away, my skin plucked bone dry and dense, until all I could taste was a yearning for water. In this story, I drank the desperation of a man starved, felt my hunger contract around my ribs, felt my anger settle in the coil in my stomach. The thing was, these days, I no longer knew how to be angry. There always had to be some secondary emotion. Hungry, angry, sad, angry. Anger was never allowed to exist on its own, so I was no longer allowed to be angry. 2. When God created Cain and Abel, he split them 49 to 51, so close to whole, yet so entirely incomplete. I think God modeled siblings off his own children, perfectly imperfect, and Abel wanted to kill Cain, and Cain wanted to die, so the story went in the opposite direction. At night, I believe that I am Cain. I have always wanted to die, but I have always wanted to kill, to be seen as something greater than just a body. 3. The thing is, sometimes I think I was made to die. I grew up on essays writing I was meant to bleed across 3 countries, but these days I do not think I was meant to bleed at all. Each movement is its own death, each breath its own torture carved through echoes of my throat. It becomes startlingly easy to emancipate the full-blown need to bite from the affection rotting behind the pads of my fingertips. I am not violent. I don't know why I need to bite. 4. I think I have been angry for so long I forgot how to be anything but, how to create a vivisection of my own emotion from the physical body of shame. I like to think of myself as the priest's favorite sacrificial lamb, because when the time came to offer my head, I became too willing. I drove myself mad with the idea of want, of how desire was its own special violence, because all I had wanted was to be desired. I needed to gnaw my own leg off, to offer something of my own for the table, to say, if nothing else, you can feast on me. I want you to be full. 5. Nobody is meant to be one person, which is how I know I am both Cain and Abel at once. I was meant to kill and to be killed, to become both the sacrificial lamb and the priest. I am not violent. I think I am just angry. I think if God had wanted me placated, he would have let me die. The third piece I'm going to read is Golden Shovel for Indian Colonization. The quote is, "There is a war that makes us adore our conquerors and despise ourselves," from The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. There is identity. There is what it means to be brown, how each prayer is a moment left to stay ourselves, each funeral pyre lit a flame for a body, a sin left on the floor of a forest, an elegy that becomes true. Identity is a war that formed from the split of colonization, from exodus of the soul, one that splits a body down the middle, creates a middleman of culture, and makes it pray. I want to be worth the prayer, to say, Mother, look, you made us crazy about this, about identity, pay the price now. I want to learn how to adore myself, how to feel comfortable in a body so heavily impacted by our own history, how to make my body bend at the waist and pray, to tell our conquerors that there is no longer space in my motherland for them, and to finally have someone fall in love with a body I cannot love, only despise. There is no longer room for us to take out our own brown bodies and bring them to kneel. There is only room for us to grow. And then the last piece is again from my chapbook. It's called Suburban Suicides. It's the overall fiction piece. The first time he pulled out the pretty boy attitude and the curly hair and that damn Tracy Chapman vinyl was the day that I knew I'd never come down from this high. It's not a well-kept secret how we steal away from class pretending to be good people just to open the raw wound we know we are, how I'd beg for 5 more minutes just to press my face against his neck. There's a terrible amount of reverence here, how I'd lay him upon the altar and pray if it give me more time. The Tracy Chapman vinyl croons out, "For my lover, for my lover." Everybody thinks I'm the fool. They don't get any love from you. And distinctly, I realize I never knew the name of this gentle violence until I made it holy. I didn't know that love was a religion until I placed him at the altar. The turntable cuts through the space between us like a body, the blue-gray of my walls reflecting the brown gold of the table, and like it could be written in the holy scriptures of some religion, I stay exactly 1.5 arms length away from him. It is Friday night. It is some time before we're meant to go out to party and kiss ourselves drunk on futures. The story here is that we dream of getting out of this town, and we dream of our futures in the reverent and frantic manner only kids who dream of sex and God can achieve. It is the summer before our high school ends, and I can feel the hot air blowing in my open window, and I'd wish I'd done anything stupid in high school just to say I lived the teenage American dream. I haven't gotten drunk, nor have I had sex, nor have I had done anything but be a wound too raw to keep open and too lonely to keep closed. The Tracy Chapman's on, though, and at the wrong angle, the man I love looks suspiciously like he'll leave at any moment. He is my best friend. I am waiting to be placed on the same pedestal I put him on. He's bobbing his head along slightly, belting out the lyrics to For My Lover, and I can feel my breath raggedly exhale from my chest, like a soft animal learning how to live. There is normalcy in knowing that this will never end. There is also normalcy in knowing that this will last only for a second. Just for once, I indulge in what it means to have this still. I've been lucky enough to fall in love at the right time, and I'm lucky enough that when he leaves, it'll mean something, not just ratty eyeliner and fishnets ripped too high. We're trying to get out of this town, and I'm terrified I'm stuck here forever. A suburban suicide, a bombshell that gets dropped in the middle of an argument, or a statistic that comes free-flowing as the sunset goes down. The ending goes a little similar to this. The song falls into the crescendo of its final verse and chorus. There's a dream I've had forever, where I've done nothing but manage to fall in love. It looks suspiciously like lying down on my bed and listening to Tracy Chapman until the end of the world. The song ends, languidly, not abruptly, not like what it would feel like if he left, not like what it was like to fall in love, not like how it felt to be comprised of hopes and dreams, not like what it means to put your lover on a pedestal and worship him anyways. I turn around and look at him. I scream for recognition, for this moment to last forever or for just a second. I choke on my own words when I beg him to listen, tell him the song isn't just about Tracy Chapman, it's about me, too. It's about us, too. I love you. The room falls silent as the song ends. I love you, he suggests we go to the nearby coffee shop just to stay awake and run away until midnight. I love you, I mouth to the silence of the room. I love you, I love you, I love you. The record spins again, and the next track plays, and it doesn't matter. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Hey, real quick, Ernest, we do a mic check and see if anything's changed. If I can't hear you, then we'll circle back later on. You are still muted here. Don't hear you yet. Okay. Okay, Bob, we'll do Sneha.
Right on. Very excited to introduce our next poet. A lot of us on the team have been fans for quite a while. This is born in Mumbai. Sneha Subramanian Kanta is a writer, academic, and editor residing in Ontario. She's the 2025 Woodhaven Artist in Residence at the University of British Columbia and is one of the founding editors of At Parentheses Journal. Please welcome Sneha.
Thanks so much. Fan here as well. So this is the first time, fun fact everyone, I have a really bad throat. So it's the first time I'm reading my poems with this kind of a throat. So hopefully I sound like a different person because, hey, that's going to be interesting, right? Okay, so I'm going to read from my chapter, Red Apples Falling Still. For Appa. Though I believe hunger, I believe more in fulfillment. The sacred note of a full stomach. Fistfuls of blueberries picked from a mountain, its silent spectacle. The whole world being remade and going unnoticed. A whole world can be contained inside a watermelon. You bring me cut fruit from the kitchen, and I know this ritual by memory. First, sounds of your footsteps, then cold water running over the still fruit. The precise movement of your hands with the knife. The enunciation of fruit against its sharp edge. Every piece falling in different variables of sound, like plucking tea leaves or a rustling as when you walk through sugarcane fields. On most days, I predict the fruit like a weathercaster will forecast elements, which is to say there are permutations in this exercise. In the year when I was away from home, in a new country, I saw fruits hanging from most trees. All autumn, the red apples falling on a slope near the train station, and everyone walking past its busyness. If you were here, you would study the branches and tell me about the trees. Then When we would reach home and I finished preparing lunch, you would begin to wash the fruit to be eaten after the meal. Then fold your palms in praise of God and sleep under the wide incarnation of a sky in the yard. The red apples falling still. The red apples falling still. I'm going to read a couple more poems from my chapbook, Ancestral Wing. I'm just going to show it here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Again, these poems primarily are for my father. I'm going to read Because the Night Will Go On, You Say, for Appa. And that won't be the end of light. Today, I taste syllables more trepid than the distance between us. When you tell me how the light is scant at Marudumalai, or how petrichor lingers among the coconut trees, I tell you it'll be night soon, by which I not only mean it will be night, but that I'm fearful for the world. Sapphire stars beckon arrival for something larger than the sky. A river slips and leaves greenness on its banks. You tell me when a river runs full, it compensates for the world. The moon is stiller than the smallest flower, and you tell me how birds have begun to look for shelter after the deluge, how the pelissonid wasp does not sting, and how every animal prepares for an exodus, while winds untether blankets left to dry on clotheslines. God made the world of water and fruit for our hunger, though the world often forgets. And because the night will go on, you say, dawn will be another opportunity to remember. Okay, let me look at more poems for my dad from here because I primarily wrote Red Apples Falling Still for my father, so now you know. Okay, so you once told me to look at the sea to understand life. For Appa. As people who have moved all their lives, movement lodges itself into our bodies like a flower first turns to fruit, then ripe. I sing by the horizon of mastless ships, disembodied, and here, ribbon of froth carries a surplus of smoke into water. After the effigy of fog, the burning world brings us its last offer. But we know how nothing is proportionate unless a lie. Before creases of dead leaves sweep over to the next town, another sun would have set. We once traveled from coast to coast until Rameshwaram. Even rain travels back to assimilate into the same source, towards the sea, where the rowboats still glisten, with torchlights held by those gone far. I asked you the name for lost songs, and you told me how the seabed thrums and folds, a blur of sounds and constancy. Let us call the season winter, when even the sea becomes translucent like snow. I'm going to read just one last poem, which is very short. It's titled Hindi. That's for my grandparents. I'm going to be really fast now. So after thistle, summer, sky waddling into dusk like prayer, murmurations release. Someone has picked fallen roses amid bilirubin shoots. Under a silver magnitude of sunlight, a throb of brass arches over the stalks. Again, I pass streams of vacant lanes, engulfed in bursts of fog. What touched me was something soft, like a language known by memory. Language does not wilt like seasons. When I say sham, the motion and paribhasha liken. Remember to stitch the windows open with cloud-like curtains waving before the last of light brings a syntax of rain. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
I hear you, Ashley.
Okay, great. Just making sure.
No, you're good.
Wonderful. Thank you to everyone who has read so far. Y'all have been like astounding. My heart is full and I'm scared to keep listening because it's gonna get fuller and then it's gonna explode. So, but I'm so happy I get to introduce our next reader, Annie. I can't believe that this is like Annie's first chap and we have the honor of publishing it. And it makes my heart so happy. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and read Annie's bio so we can get to Annie. So Annie Mahefka is a writer in Baltimore, Maryland, whose work has been featured on The Slowdown Show. She's been nominated for the Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net, and she received the 2024 Eunice Williams Nonfiction Prize. Annie is the executive director at one of my favorite places, Yellow Arrow Publishing, a Baltimore-based nonprofit empowering women identifying writers. Annie, the stage is yours. Yay.
Thanks, Ashley. So the inspiration for my collection came from a letter that I received over 20 years ago from a stranger that was really impactful. So my brother was in a car accident, and months after he passed, we just got this letter in the mail from a stranger who had come upon his accident. And so I was just really awed by the bravery and empathy that a stranger was able to convey in that letter. And so that always stuck with me. So a few years ago, I started writing my own love letters to strangers, which eventually became this collection, Strangers We Know by Heart. So the first one is a letter to my mother, and it's called To the Woman You Were Before You Were My Mother. In pictures, your limbs are always a blur, as if the camera couldn't possibly catch you in a still moment. Always wide-mouthed, mid-laugh or mid-song or mid-happiness. Your eyes are always fixated on the camera or its operator. Dad had an eye for photography, maybe just an eye for you. There's this way the light is drawn to your shape in photos, the way others in the background are always looking at you. I imagine you are so disarming. I wish we could have been friends. Friends choosing each other rather than being tethered together by force. Friends orbiting around each other's stories, checking in on a whim, rather than the push-pull obligations of a mother and a daughter, challenging each other's patience, pushing each other's boundaries, testing, ricocheting. My therapist asks why I felt the need to always resolve our tension. What would it take for you to let the tension sit between you? I respond, isn't that my job as a daughter, to resolve our tension? Don't I owe her that? After you become a mother, you stop appearing in photos. You become the photographer, the documentarian of my life. Here is Annie walking. Here is Annie eating cake. Here is Annie opening a present. Annie, Annie, Annie. The way my existence erased you from the film, the way it extinguished your light, sent you to the shadows, the way it put you behind the lens, made you the creator, the director, the observer, the stranger. And this next one, I'm just going to read 3 because mine are a little bit longer. So the second one, I've spent most of my career in HR, and it's a profession where you don't often get to sort of show yourself to others because you're very by the book and very behind the scenes. So this next one is called To the Wives of All the Men Whose Sexual Harassment Allegations I've Had to Investigate. I want to call you, all of you. For years I've wanted to, but what would I say? I'm investing a complaint of harassment against your husband. Did he tell you someone filed a complaint against him? Most of them didn't. I guess that wouldn't go over too well with you, though. I'm the bad guy in this situation. I always had to separate myself from the scene, silence any bias I felt, focus on the facts. Was there consent? Was there a policy violation? Was it the first complaint against this employee, or the second, or the 5th? Does the complainant feel unsafe in the workplace? And then afterwards, if it wasn't concrete enough to warrant termination, or if the organization's leadership team didn't agree with my recommendation, we'd keep working together. I'd keep on smiling in hallways, keep checking on the female employees, Keep remembering. I never met you, the wives, except at the annual holiday party, draped in red satin, nervously holding a sparkly clutch in one hand, laughing as you reached over to take your husband's arm. So lovely to meet you, I would say, extending my hand to you as if we were strangers, as if I knew nothing of what it must be to be married to him. I'm so-and-so's wife, you'd respond with a gentle handshake, a sweet smile. Your husband would laugh, quip, my better half, with an uncomfortable smile. Oh, we know, I'd joke back. We know. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to read is for a bartender at my favorite dive bar in Baltimore called the Cat's Eye Pub. And I think this sort of captures the essence of that bar, but also of our gritty, charming little Baltimore as a city. To the bartender who tends to more than just the bar. You think no one notices the way you remember everyone's orders. The Corona, no lime for the guy with the Zeppelin shirt. The iced sweet tea vodka blend with extra fruit for the girl with the blue earrings. The cheap wine in the plastic bottles for the woman in the corner. You think we don't see the way your silhouette dips behind the bar, your voice drowned out by bottles clinking and the creaks of the bar stools sliding on old hardwood slats and the locals trilling along to Up on Cripple Creek. You think we don't notice the way you tend to our secrets. When I told you I was pregnant before I told my friends, the way you winked and concocted a drink that looked exactly like my regular drink, but wasn't for all those weeks. The way you hugged me when no one was looking. The way you whispered, you'll be a great mom, as if you sensed my uncertainty. The way you tend to the band, too, clearing empty glasses from the ledge near their mic stands, refilling their water glasses, reminding the patrons between sets to tip the musicians. The way you tend to your fellow bartenders, a gentle hand on the lower back as you scoot behind to clean up a spill. The way you restock the cooler before it's empty. The way you smile. The way it doesn't even feel like we're in a bar, more like someone's living room, like there should be a recliner in the corner and a colorful macrame rug at our feet. The way you help us pass the time, make us forget what we're escaping from.
To check, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
If you're okay with it, Chris, then I'll go ahead and introduce
Yeah.
Ernest.
All you, sir.
Excellent. That was great, Annie. It's always a thrill to hear your words. So it's just really, I just wanted to say so. Our next author is Ernest Ohia. Ernest Ohia is a queer Nigerian poet and editor. He's an MFA candidate in poetry at the University of Alabama, where he serves as the design editor for Black Warrior Review. Ernest's works are published and forthcoming in Lolwe of the Muse, 2035 Africa, Agbowo, Rigorous, amongst others. Please join me in welcoming Ernest.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining. It's good to see you all. And thanks to the readers. Those that have read before me, I enjoyed all the poems. Yeah. So these poems that I have here are poems from my thesis that I'm working on. And some of the poems in the thesis are poems that I had pulled from the chapbook that was submitted for the contest. So I will be reading one or two of them from the chapbook, and the other ones are just poems from my thesis. And to give you context, my thesis is about a lot of things. It's about my sexuality. It's about my gender as a feminine man. It's about the alienation I feel in my family. It's about immigration. It's about so many things. It's doing so many things all at once. But I think that the thing that binds all the poems there, it's my experience because I'm writing about myself. So all these poems are very personal to me. The first poem is titled, "This Poem Doesn't Care If You Like It or Not." This poem doesn't care if you like it or not. This poem doesn't care if there are such things as rap or weightlifting or beard gang, doesn't really care about WWE. It doesn't agree with the part of biology that says boys have deep voices, or the hypersexuality of the males that make up 50.4% of the human population. This poem is not interested in strong liquors of football or butch riders with ripped arms and leather boots and power bikes. This poem doesn't want to know what civil rights exists in Nigeria, Iraq, the US, Saudi Arabia, etc., or how boys are taught to be hard. It has stopped thinking of stereotypes that define who to love, how to express love, what to wear, how to deal with depression, or who should cook. This poem adores rainbows, butterflies, androgynes oozing sex appeal, girls who care less of makeup or high heels, girls with dyed hair or anklets or tattoos, the man in a tuxedo and a black gown. It wants the messages of white sheets, men vulnerable to the bodies of their lovers, how perfect their skin feel against the other. This poem says, fuck you to absurd social constructs. It doesn't give a damn what you think of it. The second poem I have here is titled Self-Portrait, and it's after Charisma Prize. So during the summer, I picked up her book. I can't remember the title, and I read this poem that was also titled Self-Portrait, and I just felt like writing a poem after that particular poem. Self-portrait as offal, as memory have pulled, as the displaced tooth resting in the pit of my stomach, as the prodigal fly, as the kind of hunger that isn't about food, like the abundance surrounds you, yet you starve because wanting feels safer than having, as mine, as learning to take my body serious, as my father's reincarnation, as his voice all squared up and edgy when he belows my name, as the concept of what a son should be, as apple juice, as the end of seasons, as a boy resembling an installation made of debris, as the aftertaste of my mother's ridicule, the words leaving her mouth like pyroclastic ash, as a mother's too many to count sorries, as a creak, as a boy folding into the shape of his ancestors' lost dreams, as a boy trying to get good at sports, as a mother who is not envious of her son's success, as a poem that doesn't mention the word body or boy or brother, as an unforgiving bout of dissociation, as a field where the war ends early, as all the sweet and salty words wrung out of a lover's mouth, as the parts of me I try to cast off, as a father whose son is allowed to be anything they want to be, as the great star of the highest firmament, as everything the sun offers, as thunder, as soft as underwater laughter, as what my father could never be. In the next poem, I interrogate masculinity. The title is Masculinity Odd. It's something that growing up in Nigeria, it was something, masculinity, I mean, it's something that was so performative, and everyone was like, everyone born male was expected to show it, to enforce it in so many ways. But growing up in Nigeria, I was never masculine. And it made me, question my place in my community and how people regarded me because I was very feminine growing up. All the ridicule that I had to endure and all of that. So yeah, this is a poem, Masculinity Ode. When did I not crave what I did not have? I split my flesh against the words wanting on most days to see if the rooster inside me would walk out. Because where I come from, to suffer lack is to be marked for ruin. I do not know what it means to be born a man like any other. I do not know what it means to be born ordinary as daylight spilling through a cracked door. I watched my body rehearse itself wherever I went. The sorry tongue which I did not want, folded in supplications. The rooster and the world and me, yet again, learning how not to be diminished. I will whisk myself away from all that wants to end me. This drought, this serrated knife on my neck. I will not be the echo of what never arrived. I will bend towards the light anyway, just as the trees. This poem that I'm about to read I wrote it after I had gotten off the phone with my mom, where she was asking me when I would get married, and she had said that so casually. And I realized that turning 27, like now that I'm 27, there are talks about marriage around me. And I haven't come out to my parents yet. I haven't come out to any of my family. And it just feels it makes me feel some type of way when they're talking about marriage. And I know they're talking about marriage in the hope that I would get married to a woman. And it's funny because what if I don't want to get married? To anyone, in fact. What if I am not the type that wants to get married? So this poem was written after that phone call. And actually not today was my mom's birthday. I mean, it's Wednesday in Nigeria right now, but yesterday it's my mom's birthday. So it's just significant that I read this poem today. So the title of this poem is Soft Ruin. For the very first time, my mother opens her mouth like a mother to ask me when I will marry. The question, first flake of a decades-long avalanche, held between her teeth, clip out now, manifests through the phone into a dagger I do not miss. She says, marry, as in, bring my body back home to someone's longing, to someone's helpless open mouth. I let the silence pull between us until it snaps. I do not say a word. I am 27, but incapable of saying my mind to her. Between us, an ocean, ancient as the need to continue a bloodline. I become the silence, the line humming softly in my ear. To love someone deeply is to withhold just enough to remain theirs, I read somewhere. I want to remain my mother's child. In a future not so far away, I imagine the question losing shape, picking on the skin of worry, or perhaps revulsion, becoming a who, not a when. This is going to be my last poem. This was a poem I had written after I had a very silly relationship with someone. And this was my way of grounding myself. Writing this poem was a way of grounding myself after the relationship had ended. And yeah, so it's a love poem, but it's not actually a love poem because it's a silly poem. Yeah. The title of the poem is Everything Ended the Way It Began. If you asked me, I would say I am not sure we met at the right time, or I am not sure the forest liked us enough to let us lie at the feet of those towering trees that first day, with your back facing the sun, and me underneath your breath, my mouth warding your tongue. We looked like two embers cooling off in the open. The wind, ravenous, licked our bare asses until we shivered and got up and rode into town in your Chevy SS. The dried flower shops we passed on our way were closed, so you took me down the park in search of white violets. At your apartment, which smelled like leather, we sat in the glow of your kitchen bulb. We ate the fingerprinted pears in your fridge. We looked like two men settling into their lives. You were so sweet, so funny, you would not tell me what dreams you had the previous night. I followed behind you to find out what it meant to live with the slow-moving ache that took the place of your heart. I waited for your pitcher plants to grow. My bones did not dissolve. My skin did not inch away from my body then. All I had wanted was to be treated like a desirable piece of meat. I was full of loneliness and wet songs and rage. There were times I went about thinking the thoughts of someone who believed that they had their shit figured out, when really my head was not my own, but an ill-fitted, empty house, something negative, just an alarm going off in the middle of the night. The way my thoughts simmered kept me out of myself and into myself. I tasted my shame before it became mine. If you think it through, you will see that love does not require permission to devastate a person. When it walks into your life, it sets every damn thing desolate. As the hours turn into hours, an absence becomes a hand. Look now, see how your hands have become an absence, so much so that for a long time, I could hardly remember what it felt like to have the shape of your head block out the sun. Thank you very much. And I want to apologize to you all for my cats meowing in the background. But yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Ernest, I'm so happy that your microphone started working because I
Me
would have
too,
been
me
really
too.
sad if we didn't get to hear those poems because they were so good. Also, never apologize for cats. We love them here. Cats are amazing. My cat's somewhere in the room right now. But yeah, I'm gonna introduce the next poet. Wait, I've lost my. Okay, there we go. I almost lost the bio. Yeah. So introducing the next poet, we have coming up is Mariah Converse. Mariah is now a 2025 Fulbright Hayes Doctoral Dissertation Research Fellow in Jordan. Mariah Converse was a Peace Corps volunteer in Jordan during the occupation of Iraq and a student in Cairo during the 2011 Egyptian Revolution. She is a PhD candidate in Arabic applied linguistics, and you can find her at mariahconverse.com. So I would like to, I'm very excited to call up Mariah to the stage. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Like everyone, not everyone, but like many people here in Jordan, I've been obsessed with what's happening just to the west of us in Gaza. And so I'm going to read not a poem, but one piece of flash fiction called Men at Work. I saw someone one day early in the conflict wondering why no one was talking about the good men in Gaza. And that was what inspired this piece. Tamer huddles at the door, farthest from the little red kerosene heater, but there's been no fuel for days. The bodies of 4 generations of his closest 50 relatives and almost 50 of another family's 4 generations in the unit below keep the little cinder block apartment just warm enough in the winter of this latest discontent. 75 years of constant pressure and intermittent war, but this time, none of their 4 generations have witnessed this degree of depravity and desperation, nor fought so hard against the despair that chased after. His beloved Sajida, Tamer's wife, sits near the middle of the room, rocking their infant daughter on her calves. pillowing her toddler son's head on her thigh, leaning into his mother's shoulder. The aunties hand out lukma, little bites of bread scraped through a trace of olive oil, but Tamer and Sajida decline, knowing that this is the last bread in the building, deferring to the children. Nearly acculturated to the whine of rockets overhead, Tamer hardly registers them screaming past as he strains to hear the boom. In the days and weeks of massacre, he's learned to discern how big the explosion, how close to home. Not for his own survival, because even the toddlers, too exhausted and emaciated to cry, know that there's nowhere safer to flee. Tamer is an engineer, a creator, and the sounds of destruction strike his heart in waves. Every schoolyard, every hospital courtyard, every apartment block is families like his, like the apartment below and the apartments above and to the right, each a different family huddling in all their living generations, resigned to a fate already written in their oppressor's blood, but determined to face it together. Family is all they have. He aches for the families first, but for the buildings too. This was Tamer's resistance, a builder amidst calculated destruction, threatened from three sides and above, defying blockades and restrictions, innovating a way to build a better future despite the odds. Every project was an act of survival for its occupants and for Tamer's sense of self, of dignity, of hope. In the prime of his years, Tamer is a maker, and every unmaking burns another scar through the calluses on his heart. Ear against the door, palm braced against the tile floor, the persistent quiver in his elbow, the only weakness that he'll allow himself. Tamer listens with every muscle and sinew, weighing the cacophony for his opportunity to help. Estimating distance and intensity distracts from the certain knowledge, sunk deep in his belly, that the flash of fire and might will come for him too, and everyone he loves. Gripped in his other hand, a stick with an undershirt affixed, dust and dirt ground in, but white enough still, he hopes. Tamer knows the oppressor is near, knows that they are unable to imagine innocent civilians like Sajida and their children, like his mother, and especially like Tamer. Their attackers certain that his youthful olive face and black curls mark him a terrorist. Yet he clutches his flag of innocence in white-knuckled, trembling hope. Then he hears it. Close. Too close. Surging to his feet, Tamer grabs the handle of the door. "Don't go, by God," his mother shrieks, reaching with both hands. "Ya Allah!" Over his shoulder, Tamer meets Sajida's eyes, just for a moment, reflecting his determination, as she nods ever so slightly, and he knows that it means, "I love you." Flag clutched in his left, Tamer cracks the door as wide as the crowded room will allow and slips out with several of his brothers and cousins. They grab shovels, hammers, crowbars, lined up in the hall, and thunder down the echoing empty tile staircase and into the street. Their little rescue crew emerges into a cloud of smoke and debris, and Tamer leads them down the block, picking through the rubble underfoot. Instead of construction, today Tamer's task is to examine the destruction for threats and hope, for instabilities and signs of life. He slows his cousin's rush as they approach, spotting another cluster of equally haggard, disheveled men coming down a side street. He shakes hands with their leader, Nader, an erstwhile classmate and colleague with striking green eyes. 6 apartments in this building, says Nader, preternaturally solid and calm. But 3 were empty when I passed by yesterday, perhaps 100 souls. Silently, Tamer and Nader turn towards the rubble. They begin directing their crews with farm tools in bare hands, cautiously shifting the rubble aside, calling out as they work for voices they are certain won't respond, but unable to abandon their persistent, stubborn hope. Tamer is startled to find another friend appearing at his side, blue flak jacket emblazoned press, slinging his camera behind his back to help. No, Hashim, says Tamer, we've got this. Nader agrees. Let us work. You take pictures. And when the sun comes up and my uncle's solar panels charge, when mobile service returns, tell this story. This is their last desperate hope. Make the world see.
Wow, that was wow. That's all I gotta say. Wow. Next up, I'm happy to introduce M.A. Dubs. M.A. Dubs is an award-winning Mexican-American and LGBT poet from Indiana. For over a decade, Dubs has published writing in magazines and anthologies in 10 countries across the globe. She is the author of 3 poetry collections, with her 4th, A Walk to Americana, releasing in 2025 with Dancing Girl Press. I'm happy to introduce M.A.
Thank you for the introduction, and I've enjoyed everybody's pieces that I've read so far. So I'm going to be reading from the manuscript that I submitted for the contest, which was called It Ain't No Lie, I'm Bye Bye Bye. So this first poem is called The Two Worlds of a Bi Poet. And this one is kind of in response to me gaining the strength and confidence to express my sexuality openly, and also in response to my city made national news for a book ban that was happening at my local library. So also a little finger to that process as well. So The Two Worlds of a Bi Poet. In my flesh, I must pass for straight. Play it safe and narrow as wife and mother in a town where gay and groomer are synonymous. And our local library bans books where we exist. My existence is a threat to their comfort. My sexuality always inherently sexual. Funny how that never works the other way around. But in the digital world, I can be me. I make collages of women in love, write of the beauty in verse, and find safety in readers that I know I will never meet. It's a pseudo-anonymity, an illusion, I know. But only from a web page can I find refuge, community, where I can wear a label in my bio, but could not cold open in person with who I really am. And on my porch, I will hesitate to put up a rainbow flag, but in a language of binary, of codes of ones and zeros, I will find renewal. But in a real world where your digital footprint can be scanned and scrutinized, where can an artist create art? I suppose I could toil away, lock my words behind passwords, burn and delete after reading. But to create and not share is to not create at all. And to not create is the inevitable death of a poet. My next piece is a tanka. It's called Unconditional Love. I was raised Mexican Catholic. I consider myself a recovering Catholic. So here's a short piece about my sexuality and my religious upbringing. Unconditional love. A confessional. Coming out to our mother. She cites old scripture. Our Lady candle witness, extending her arms with flame. All right, and to continue on that theme, I have another poem here, Beatification. Beatification. I'm exploring your sacred spaces as I kneel to your basilica. Let your body melt on my tongue in the warmth of my mouth as you stick to the top. You are part divine, half public, other half locked behind iron bars and glass encasing, scraps of an ill-fated saint who died in 1,000 ways, 200 of which we put to song. Bow deep before you enter and offer humility as sacrifice, for godhood has never been obtained through ego, but always on one's knees. Let me cleanse your skin, you your hands, us the mind with basin water, still like all shallow pools of mist. Our omphalos is the scar from where you and your mother were joined, and there I circumambulate, entering like marbles in a siphon at the place where life's beginning closed. For now, I'll nourish you with words instead, hovering my hands over your chest as they perform transubstantiation, our lips mouthing dead words until you elevate from the slab. Sor Juana, Santa Muerte, high priestesses, officiate our gospel in this sepulchre, tower of skulls and volcanic bricks, building blocks for my beloved devotee. This is our covenant, disciple, sealed with blood on thirsted limestone and a single paint stroke above our door, ancestral protector, my Quetzalcoatl. Tonight you are relic. Let me press my badge of pilgrimage upon your hip, back into your ribs, lips to lips, first breath to last. Now rise from your tomb, roll back your stone, for you are not dead. Let me wash your feet with my hair, write a new canon, this anointment of pride, praise to my new patron saint. All right, and for my last poem, I have a little bit of an ode of a person I thought who was really cute in my poetry workshop class in college. This is When I Met Haruka. I don't know if any of you guys watched Sailor Moon at all, but there's some references to Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune if you knew the show at all. When I met Haruka, I met her at a workshop class in a former life. Deep-set eyes and thick blonde brows, like a Midwest version of Mr. Wickham. I know that he is fun, but no good. But I guess we all have a catch, and I'm eager to find out hers. She captures my eyes with a short intensity that feels like an hour. She says we can call her whatever. She's so cool as she rests her ankle on her knee, hands laced behind her neck, energy to take up the entire space of this classroom. A poet by hobby, former soldier by trade, she talks about the pretty nurses that treated her overseas. I can't help but wish her a mild catastrophe so that I could be by her bedside and help her mend. I can't help looking up from editing without a greeting from her wide, white, knowing smile, so I'll play prairie dog between her prose and her gaze instead. When we meet at an open mic, she's dressed to the nines, dark blue power suit and a 5'5" frame, and a blonde slick back that rests on her shoulder pads. I tell her she's so GQ. She says she doesn't know what that means, but she likes the way I say it, so that must mean something good. I get an offer of her sports coat because it's a damn shame I look so cold in a dress this nice. When she's on stage, she fills the room like she is nothing but earth, a real-life Haruka. She loves fast cars and pretty girls, and I wonder if she wants a blonde by Mishudo of her very own. She's one of the few eyes I can see when I go up to read, as she nods her head to tell me it works. At semester's end, she tells me I write nice words about dark, ugly things. And as parting words, I tell her I just can't write about beautiful things. But perhaps you'll hear this or read this, Haruka, and then you'll tell me that I'm wrong. Thank you so much for having me on.
And this was exactly why it was so hard to pick manuscripts. Like, truly. So many, because, like, there were so many good ones. So, our next reader, I could talk all day about y'all's work. I'm not going to do that. Our next reader Alessandra Niceter Santos. They, she is a Brazilian American and Jersey Italian writer, artist, and educator. They wrote Fat Magic, a 2025 GPC chapbook contest winner. Check out more of their work in Monarca, Atemais, and beyond. She lives in Florida with her sweet little family. Alessandra, go right on ahead.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And thank you so much, everybody. Like Garden Party Collective, what alum would be the right word, right? And then like also everybody else reading today, like truly exactly what I needed right now in this strange void that we seem to be in. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm gonna read a little bit from Fat Magic. Really grateful to Garden Party Collective. It is my first book published. And it's been such a joy working with y'all on it. And I wasn't going to read a tanka, but then we had some tanka action going on, so I want to get into my tankas. I got a few tankas in this one that kind of play throughout. And I'm going to read the middle one to get us started. Belong tanka. Gently in a sharp world, these big bodies love us. Even when we pray ourselves away, fast and starve to belong in a small world. Our bodies belong, they are heirlooms from before. Follow older rules. Remember a world big enough for all of who we are. What I did with the tankas throughout this was I played with the syllables to make them bodies that don't fit tanka rules. And I had a lot of fun playing with format in that way. So if you're a tanka fan, look at what the things are. You'll see like, oh, this is where something is wrong, but it's perfectly right. Okay, so then I'm gonna read Thinner Inner Woman, which is right next to it, actually. I am no cursed creature, not a monster with an arc of transformation before I earn my blessings, before I become the inner, thinner woman my mother has been disappearing towards her whole life. I tell her she isn't real, isn't who rattles our rib cages to be set free. That is just God in the machine. Yeah. And then I'm going to read a duplex, which is also very close to these other poems. This is just a page over. It says, we could have been unstoppable, the duplex form. Do you ever think of me, Harmony? New kid with flesh and bone built by the same curse. Heirloom flesh and bone turned enemies cursed to hate each other, ourselves, our bodies. Adults made weapons of us, our bodies. It's no wonder we carried them loaded. Curving suddenly like ladies loaded, heavy with the shame and sex called woman. Scared children forged into savage women who must attack the other fat girl first. First day I was the other fat girl fast. Now imagine us allies instead. What if we had been who we are instead of who they forced us to be, Harmony? I really wanted to read to y'all from the Garland of Sonnets, which is like, you gotta turn the page over this way because Chris and Jacob were like, oh, we can make this formatting work. And I was like, oh, centerfold poetry. Scandalous. Oh. But those are long, and I really feel like they need to go together. I've been playing with like, can they be read apart, like in different places? And they probably can, but I'm not ready to sever them from each other yet. So I'm gonna read. I'm going to read the last one here, which is Sestina for Allie. And I actually have Sarah Lewis in here right now, who's one of our listeners. And Sarah Lewis is featured in one of these poems because she is one of my oldest and best friends. And she, in this space, would know that Allie is actually a former version of me in a lot of ways, as well as somebody I carry still. And so, Sestina for Allie is for that other self. How is it that I have never written a poem to you, Allie? I write for, because, around, and through you in spirals. All of the us in this body set in motion by generations of women who carried you and me and all these generous gifts as though they were malediction. Evidence that sin corrupted our bodies to be all wrong, a cradle of pain. You learned fast. To exist as fat and a girl was to know pain. Kids at new schools hunted you like the animals they called you, Allie. Of course you felt your flesh imprinted with sin. Every new place ushered in an old pattern of spiraling your own body out of your control. This body, more betrayal than gift, taunted you to be the surviving kind of woman. You come from long lines of surviving kinds of women you won't know about until you doula your own pain. Even your mom won't call the good she gave you gifts. How mortified you were to be compared to her, Allie. The playground cruelty already hardening you in spirals, sinking deeper those lies that the morbid fate of fact is sealed by sin. Even to see, really see, your fat mom as beautiful was mortal. Sin, a dangerous gluttony of love that could make you believe all women of all sizes are sacred artifacts of ancestral spirals. It was this they tried to protect you from, not pain itself, always getting larger in an ever narrowing alley, but the precarious hope that all of you deserves love as freely as a gift. Who in her young life had ever promised your mom a gift without thorns? Always seeking sharp certainty, sin in each and every pleasure, and all of a sudden there you were, Allie, one of the first in her life who dared love her, a fat woman. Viciously, she taught you what she understood as pain, tried to amputate anything you might lose in the spirals. Don't be afraid. Visit the future with me. You survive each spiraling, end with some kind of fat magic. Your divine gifts only grow. You grieve, yes, and learn to unravel gratitude from pain, spinning every apocalypse into paradise free of sin you never committed. You are both woman and not woman, and your body surprises you in a million heavenly ways, Allie. Sanctity spirals miraculously in and through you, Allie. For our sake, remember this gift. Feel it. Be startlingly human. When pain carves into us, feel it with joy more original than any sin. Thank you. I do want to end on one not fat magic poem. This is something I don't think I mentioned in this bio, but is in my book bio. I also do a lot of writing and work for Unitarian Universalist spaces. And this is a poem spelled prayer, which often are the same thing, right? That I created for that space. And it's actually based on a conversation between Adrienne Marie Brown and Makani Themba in the How to Survive the End of the World podcast, Which School series. It goes deep. I'll put the link in here, though, because highly recommend that podcast episode. And I feel like this is a really beautiful benediction for Garden Party Collective and this like new space that we are in. Remembering. We make ourselves one body, something larger than we were before. with all that feels alive in me and all that feels alive in you. We are interconnected. We are one entity having all these divergent, disparate, seemingly contentious experiences, but still part of this one body. Here we are conspiring together. Here we are breathing together. Here we are moving together, moving for the sake of our whole body, because that's who we are. This is a reunion. We're remembering. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alessandra. That was lovely. Keeping it rolling. Next up, preferring satire to sentimentality, Bernadette Negrete dismisses the idea that poetry and art need to make grand statements, instead inhabiting a space between cowboy nonchalance and the tenderness of love and community. Negrete uses poetry and art as a way to navigate sexuality, family, feeling, and her experiences as a Mexican-American woman. She graduated from the Kansas City Art Institute in 2022 and now works as an educator for public programs and creative practices at the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art. Please welcome Bernadette.
Hi. So I just went through a breakup of 4 years. So my poems are very sad and melodramatic, but I wanted to share them because it's the most recent work I've done in the last couple of weeks. I made these all in this last week, so yeah, bear with me, and I'm doing just fine. The first one is called Husk. I would spend a lifetime trying to put a clam back into its husk just to keep brushing my teeth next to you. 2 foamy smiles over our sink. I want to break a wine glass to get your attention. I want to close my eyes before the glass hits the ground and jump at the impact to see if you'd stop me. In the dark, I see someone else taking off your shirt. 2 different foamy smiles over the sink. I puke until the water runs clear. This next one is called Ripe. I want to wrap you in my grief, throw stones in your pocket, and take you down with me. I pass the days wondering if I should use this time to ripen or to mature. My dad calls, tells me he can see the sun and the moon at the same time. I resist the urge to text you about this line I've had in my notes for years, how I have a soft spot for mountains and that you are the tallest thing I've ever seen. And I'll just note that these are really short because I've been reading a lot of Adrienne Rich, The Dream of a Common Language, and she has a whole section dedicated to love poems that are very short, like 1 paragraph each. So I've been trying to do my own version of that through this process. This next one is called Primordial. I can make a new language with all the words that remind me of you. Primordial, sweat, space, and then space again. Intimacy is a beautiful cage. I'd still roll over if you drew a circle on my back, especially if you had beard dribbling down your chin, or if your back was turned to me as you were putting away our groceries. I used to turn my body inside out with the thought of carrying our child. Outside the bar, the cars look like candles racing down a track. Inside, you are leaning over the table, whispering about your theory that good pussy tastes like good Chardonnay and bad pussy tastes like bad Chardonnay. I used to wonder if we were Nick and Nora or if we were Hannah and Adam. Tonight, I'm leaning on nothing. And then this next poem is kind of what inspired this new series I'm working on, but it's of this card that I got from said partner or previous partner. So the beginning of it is that card, and then the last half of it is my response to it, post breakup. It's called And We Will Still Be in Love. I hope you lose this card for years and years, because I will love you all that time. And when you find it, I hope you lose it again and lose it forever, because I will love you all that time too. A. Repeat back to me. I am the vast unknown. I am the thing that cleans you, the thing you like to wear when you want to make noise, when you want to feel seen. And then to finish it off on a slightly happier note, I wanted to read something that I started writing about a year ago. I hit a deer on my way to go camping, and I just thought it was a very interesting experience. I live in the Midwest, and I'm not saying I didn't know deers were out here. I just didn't know they were big of a deal out here as they were in, say, like Colorado or North Carolina. So hitting a deer was kind of crazy for me at the time. So this poem kind of inspired that. It's called I Look for Signs to Prove You Do Not Exist. I pass the days dreaming of simple things like sunbirds or grass stains on my jeans, while everyone is finding God or having babies. I watch the landscapers arrange stones into piles on the edge of the sidewalk. Three rocks in a circle become a wave. I search for the answer in the underwear that hangs between my legs. When a flower is in blossom and then the flower becomes fertilized, I crack a double-yolked egg and imagine myself splitting into two, creating another me with a new set of organs and skin, wearing her own low-rise jeans. She'd relearn Spanish through Latin music, learn only words about love and drugs and dancing, but maybe that's all we are. Everything she says becomes a song, and when she hits a deer on the highway and pulls over underneath a billboard for AAA, tags 2 days away from expiring, she won't see it as a sign. When she gets out in the dark to inspect the damage with the coolant dripping on the concrete and the deer hair stuck in the shattered socket, all she will see is one broken headlight. All right. Thank you guys so much, and thank you again for asking me to do this.
I love those poems, and I love that you wrote them so recently. So, congratulations. They're bangers. Okay. And thanks everyone for sticking it out to the end of the reading. And our last poet is Mayat Mateo Alexis, is a Cave Canem Fellow and the author of A Shape We've Yet to Name and The Limerence Object. Mateo's poems will be found in Pleiades, Swamp Pink, Black Warrior Review, Copper Nickel, Diode, and elsewhere. He enjoys video games where you can make the characters kiss. Please join me in welcoming Mateo.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay?
Great.
Oh, thank God, okay. I'm gonna share my well cat first to say hi. Anakin says hi. He's the one that isn't sick. And the other one will not let me show her to anyone. But thank you so much. Thank you, Garden Party Collective, for everything. It's been really fun. I don't even know the word that I want to use. I'm also like a little dissociative because of my other cat being sick, so I'm sorry for if I'm a little woo-woo or distant right now. But it's been really fun / cathartic is what I wanted to say, to sort of get this published and honestly tie a bow around a pretty intense little period of my life. And so yeah, I thought for this reading I would read some of the like sort of minor gems of this one, ones that I don't like read as much for when I'm, reading. See, again, dissociating. And so I'm just going to read a couple of the sort of minor gems of this work that I still think are great, but I don't read as much because they're not as flashy. And the first one is Hymn for Adolescent Invincibility, and it's kind of an ode to the feeling you had when you were a teen that you could sort of do anything, get away with anything, like fuck up no matter how big and still sort of come back from it. And I kind of miss that a little bit. Like, it's good that I don't make decisions like that anymore. A lot of bad decisions were made, but that feeling of being invincible was really something. Did we not find ourselves awash with speckled gold in those days when we were embered by every catching cause? If any worthy hero had asked us to fight, we would have wept at their feet, would have bled for such a deserving king. How martyr-drunk we were, bewitched by meaningful suffering, so orificed with light, so effortlessly good, even when we weren't. When we weren't yet grown, the answers stumbled upon us easily, like deer into a clearing, ready like gifts for the gods. And our bellies were never full. I tried to kill myself time after time and just couldn't die. Sorry, I should have put a content warning for that. Honestly, I forget what things are warnings for at some point. Okay. This next one, making sure it doesn't have any warnings. This one is called Apparition, and it was sort of about when you have a crush on someone else, it sort of, I think, makes you think about yourself as like a object of desire. And I had my first like crush on someone like after like 3 years. Like I hadn't had a crush on someone for a while, and it just brought up all these feelings of like, oh, I'm also something that could be desired, and here's something for that. Apparition. There were weeks when my body unmoored itself from self-ownership and became hers and theirs and his, so caught up with remembering how to belong to someone. Not seeing my own body, but a thing to be gilded by another's touch. The sloping angle of my back, merely a wave for tongues to coast. This mass of hair manifesting for another fingers to cat's cradle. This body, in the yawning steam of a morning shower, did not exist, except when juxtaposed. It felt good to relinquish, to be used, if only in memory or dream play. It takes work to pilot this machine, this stuttering wind-up guy vessel in need of repair. The near boiling water eases my joints, and I tell the shower ghosts of current past and never loves to take, please, without asking. Oh. Okay. And this one, I think I'll probably just do two more. This next one, I wrote, it's sort of a love poem for this very specific moment I had at Reese Beach. For people who don't know, in New York, Reese Beach is like the stretch of beach near the tuberculosis hospital that they gave the queers. Like they were like, you guys can have your own part of the beach right next to the children's tuberculosis hospital, which they've torn the hospital down now, which is good because it was probably haunted. But so it's an amazing, like sort of topless, very queer, amazing beach. Oh yeah, for sure haunted. Anyway, while I was there with these friends, we sort of made this promise that we would always be there for each other. It was not true, but the moment was so sweet that I think about it a lot. And so this is called Perpetual Motion Machine for that day at Reese Beach when we'd said we'd always be there for each other. In this machine, I'm a little bit in love with everyone all at once, but never jealous and afraid to say too much too quickly. Here I wear no shirt, no memory. I'm witnessed like how other animals see other animals, without shame. And you turn so we can see the slope of your neck already turning pink in the godlike sun. You offered us an ugly truth. We could have eaten you if we wanted, could have taken what you told us and run, but we didn't. My cat's playing in the background. Us poets. Caught in the beauty of a day, we tried to weave a promise out of jagged things. I thought I had lost it, this barrierlessness, this unspoiled fruit. In this machine, which keeps the day at the beach turning and turning. I knew I could never die, as long as we all kept looking at each other without turning away. We've turned since, but I'm still there, still lusting after such belonging, perfect and brief. Don't fast forward to the months after, to the rupture and its tendrils, the spilt blood. Let me stay there, in our promise. Watch me come out of the water, my hair wet from the womb. Thank you. Okay. And this one, I think I like never share because it portrays the speaker, who may or may not be me, as fucking crazy, and that's okay. I think a lot of this book, I write this in the sort of author's note, which is that it's like a sort of documentation of where I was very unwell and not treating people how I should, but it's not a vindication of such a thing. Like, please don't go out and do this. And so it's a documentary style poem. I do not condone my behavior here or how I was like looking at things. And this is about how you are how you're loved as a child affects how you love as an adult. And the answer for me was unhealthy is unhealthy as an adult. Is a double sonnet for Vor after Dorothy Chan. My attachment wound is exhausting in its heft, no-faced in its monstrosity. Thank God your nature seeks space from me. Otherwise, who knows how deeply I'd core you to get to your center. Who knows how entire I'd make you mine. As a child, I was taught to love is to devour, and some of my inside places still seep with this wanting. You once told me I was so good you wanted to consume me. I am here to say I am so good I would let you. I do not seek to be your better half, rather a worst impulse, a mistake even you can't help making. I know we're grown and value safety and boundary and autonomy, yet I can't therapize out. I've eroticized within. With you, at least, you'd be taking with permission. I'd be inviting you to trespass, willing you to forget all those things I've learned since what happened, and left me splayed and in want of the same wanting. I'm not asking you to ruin me. I can do that all by myself. I don't know what I'm asking of you. To watch the urge underneath the behavior and not flinch if it rises to meet its mark. To know each other, like angels catching flame with their own act of monstrous witness. It feels good that you stop me from devouring you and myself in the process. With every no, you take care of me the way my makers never did. Thank you. And I lied. I'm going to do one more just because I like ending every reading of this book with one that I think is a bit more neutral of an ending. Thank you so much for everyone and your time. We've been here a minute, so thank you for taking your, what today is today, Tuesday, taking out your Tuesday evening to listen to poems. And great work, everyone. I am honestly kind of upset that we didn't have like a transcript of the whole thing running because I kind of want to like go back and re-listen and reprocess. But thankfully we have chat books for that. So anyway, this last one is unsurprisingly, I get 100% masochist on that internet BDSM test. You probably know the one that tells you all your little, you're 50% switch and you're 10% throat bunny or whatever. It was like 100% masochist. And I was like, I did not know you could score an A+ on this test. That's why I wrote this poem. Listen, bruising is God turning the water in me into wine. Listen, I don't do things halfway. Listen, the psychic damage didn't leave a mark. Listen, when I did it to myself, it was a cause for alarm. Listen, no one listened. Listen, if you hurt me, at least you want me. Listen, sometimes we just like the sting of a slap. Listen, maybe I do it for the moment of pain ending. A kiss, forgiveness. You've been hurt enough. Come here and rest. Thank you, everyone. Woo.
Thank you so much for those amazing poems. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for spending so much time on some beautiful poetry. Truly appreciate you making this commitment. And I will try to get the recording shared out later this week, so you can pass it on to your friends and family. But again, thank you so much to all 10 of you for your wonderful work. Everyone have a safe night. Take care.